name is Treasurer Tashara Jones. I'm the Treasurer of the City of St. Louis. The Treasurer of the City of St. Louis is probably the most unique elected official you'll ever meet in your lives, because not only am I the Chief Cash Management and Investment Officer for the city, I'm also the parking supervisor. So if any of you have parking tickets, pay them, because I'm going to tell you what they're going to a little later. And I would be remiss if I didn't drop a shameless plug. I'm also running to be the next mayor of the city of St. Louis.
Well, hello, St. Louis. My name is Faith Fleming. I'm an executive in communication. I drove 3 hours to get here tonight to show you what I know about 15 years worth of corporate research around career success, and to also talk about business success. I started my own business with $300 and an old computer. It took me about 5 or 6 years to grow it to $1 million business.
Hey. All right, my name is Terry Wilson. I'm the annual fund director for Beyond Housing. I'm also the vice president of the Jennings School Board. And I mean, I do a whole lot of things, but that's not important. The important thing that I do is help youth understand economics and giving back to their community and the importance of philanthropy. I don't think African Americans understand that because we're in a lot of bad situations ourselves, but just getting everyone to see the importance of putting in the organizations is actually helping the community. So that's what I'm here to talk about.
How's it going, St. Louis? I'm Dr. Roosevelt Mitchell III. I am an award-winning educator, special education teacher for the city of St. Louis, and I also am an author, and I work really closely with Dr. Boyce Watkins as the host of this online news show, and he and I also are putting together an educational documentary. So what I do is go around the country. I'm a national speaker, so I speak to college students, middle school students, elementary students about economics, about how to become a better person, a better man in this society.
So room 220 in City Hall, we have a free Office of Financial Empowerment that's open to the public. So if anybody tells you to give them $99 to clear up their credit, it's a scam. You can come down to City Hall, room 220, and we'll clear it up for free. Yes, that's what your tax dollars pay for.
Currently, $1 circulates in Asian communities for a month. In a Jewish community, approximately 20 days. In white communities, 17 days. How long do you think the money floats in the black community?
Way down.
6 hours.
She found out about the services we offer. She got her credit cleared up. We referred her to Beyond Housing. She got down payment assistance, and now she's about to buy her first home, all through the College Kids Children's Savings Account program.
First of all, we're still suffering from slavery. You don't understand capitalism. You're a foreigner in your own country. Business is a language. We have not had a national movement since the 60s. We need to move from the civil rights agenda to civil rights, and that is understanding economics. We have to sell a good, a service every single day, and unfortunately, we have not been able to do that. We have focused on some of the wrong things and focused on areas that really don't have impact. No disrespect, but we don't need another nonprofit.
Have insurance, use the 401ks, have the 529s, all right? Those simple steps by themselves put your family, put your legacy and the generations that follow that much more ahead, okay? So you're not starting from scratch.
We have 2 million nonprofits in this country, 10,000 in the city. This is a capitalist society. You don't have people being on socialism. You don't have a problem being on other mechanisms, but the capitalism mechanism is to create as much money as you possibly can. We need to move from FUBU to FABU, for all by us, selling products that people can have around the world. Black business needs to focus on technology as well. Because here in St. Louis, we don't realize that St. Louis is one of the most top technology organizations in the country. And so I see all these black people here. You all need to know that St. Louis is now number 1 and number 2 in the tech space. Twitter's come out of here, Square's come out of here. We can be on the cell phone, but we're not using that to make those followers and likes into customers.
It's now time to grow some black businesses.
kind of gathering. Please, you gotta clap for that. Because we know that right now, we're in a war against coonery. We really are. And half the time, when you watch World Star, you think the coons are winning. And it's not to disparage anybody, but you have a lot of mental illness that is perpetuated among us by these media outlets that are created by other people designed to destroy you. If you don't understand it, if you don't see it this way, I hope that you'll hear me when I tell you that you are at war. You are in a war for the souls of your children. They are killing our kids. Killing them. They are aborting them psychologically, aborting them economically, aborting them spiritually, intellectually, any other way you can imagine. And I could go down a long list of all the different ways that we're being destroyed. In fact, just today I wrote an article about economic bullying, and I started thinking about all the different ways that we get our asses kicked because we don't understand the game that we're playing. We don't understand that we live in a capitalist society. That means that capitalism and money determine more in your society than anything else. It matters more than democracy. All your politicians are bought out by the corporations. It matters more than racism, sexism, homophobia, and all these other things that we talk about. The fact of the matter is that if you live in America and you want to succeed in America, it is critical that as a part of your fundamental culture in your family, that you understand that economic intelligence is critical for your survival. I mean, really, think about it. Think about how many things that have happened in your life, how many choices you had to make that you might not have wanted to make because you didn't have enough money. Think about that. Think about how many of our kids end up in situations that they shouldn't be in because of money. How many tens of thousands of black men right now are in prison for something they did not do? Because somebody was profiling their community, they interacted with a cop, and next thing you know, they're facing charges, and they want access to their fair trial, but they're told they can't get the trial because the lawyer costs $10,000, and this all-white jury, if you go and take your access to a free trial, they're going to send you to prison for 30 years. So they plead out. That's just one of probably 1,000 examples I can give you that are reminders of how we are economically bullied in this country for a couple reasons. One, there's a huge wealth gap between blacks and whites. A lot of it was not your fault. I mean, people stole your shit. Let's just be real. For 400 years, people stole, and people think I'm being divisive. Well, I think she was disruptive. Yes, they tell me, Boyce, you're being disruptive when you talk about the past and reparations and everything else. And I'm like, no, you were being disruptive when you took my shit in the first place. So here's the deal. So you have the divide that was created due to the actions and activities of people who gathered before we got here. And then the other problem, the thing that we have to face as a family is the fact that we can be some of the biggest white supremacists that there are in this country. I mean, we are deeply committed as a culture to white supremacy. We literally do everything in our power sometimes to do whatever we can to keep ourselves behind in the race. We shoot our own selves in the foot. And now I can't really control what everybody else is going to do. But one thing I can tell you is that economics, global economics, is a very competitive game. And one of the ways that you have been disabled is that you've gotten into the habit of begging for the approval of your oppressor before you move forward. I mean, have you ever heard people say things like, well, Dr. Boyce, every time we get together, white folks, they don't like it, they trying to disrupt it, they trying to mess it up, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, that's what people do in a competition. That's what they do, and it's going to get worse. Well, Dr. Boyce, if we build another Black Wall Street, they might come and tear it down like they did the first Black Wall Street. Yeah, they probably will. They probably will. Because the fact of the matter is this. The only time your oppressor or your competitor will cheer for you when you make progress is when you are so far out of the race that they feel sorry for you. I mean, think about a basketball game. Is the other team really going to give you enough points to win the game and take the trophy that they think belongs to them? No, the only way they're going to give you points is if you are 40 points behind and they give you 5 points because they feel sorry for you. And what's unfortunate is that many of us have been trained to believe that we are a charity case. We're not prepared for the competition that comes with it. And I'm going to tell you like this, it takes 157,680 hours to raise a child from the time they're born to the time they turn 18. So it baffles me that we have all these children coming out of our households that can't read, can't write, can't do math, don't know how to start a business, but yet they know the lyrics to every fucking song on the radio. They know every dance that there's known to man. Now this ain't anti-singing, dancing, rapping, balling, whatever people want to do, that's perfectly fine, but we must understand the important things first. So this is not just something that we're doing for fun. This isn't just something that's designed to feel good. This is something where we must prepare soldiers who are prepared to win a war. And we will win this war.
Thank you, Doctor. And now, Mr. David Banner.
Because this is success. This is the first step. And we have to see each other. The second request that I have, just while I'm speaking, is to cut them damn cameras off. Even the professional people that have your cameras, turn the cameras off while I'm talking. Because I don't want white folks to know what I'm talking about.
Get active in your community. You are the change that you are waiting for. Prayer, read people. It is not such thing as a library.
Well, it's smart people to get smart about economics and finances and what you need to do to move yourself ahead while you plan for all these great businesses. Let's support what we have. If we just did that, then 90% of the black businesses in this United States of America would have some employees, and they'd have some purchasing power, and we would grow some more worldwide technologies right here in St. Louis.
What I would say is this, look, if you look at a graph of the gap between the rich and the poor, which has actually grown over time for a lot of factors, we won't go into it as much, but much of that gap is actually driven by a couple of factors, home ownership and stock market participation. And what you have is you have the wealthy, and then you have the middle class, and then you have the poor. The wealthy tend to invest in owning the first house, maybe the second, maybe some investment property. Also, they will invest consistently in the stock market. Middle class people were pretty much marketed the idea that owning a home was the American dream. And that was a marketing campaign, just like they taught you that the only way you can show that you love a woman is by buying her a diamond. And they did the Diamonds Are Forever campaign in the 60s. Since that time, we correlate diamonds with love. But they did the same thing with home ownership. And so basically, what you will find is that, a lot of people are afraid of the stock market, but when Obama was elected and the economy crashed, the first place they put that money was right back in the banks. And that went right to the stock market. So the first place to recover in the economy was the stock market. It's like if the whole body's sick and you inject the medicine in the arm, well, the arm's going to heal before everything else. And a lot of us, unfortunately, we put ourselves down to the big toe, right? Where you gonna get the medicine last. And what I say to people is, look, there's no whites only sign on the stock market. There's no sign that says only rich people can invest in the stock market. You can buy a share of stock for less than it costs to buy a pair of shoes. And a lot of people will ask me the same question. They'll say, well, Dr. Boyce, what's a good stock to buy? How do I pick a good stock? And I say, look, number one, the stock market is not a casino. I said, but let me give you an example to help you understand how basic it can be. Now, I wrote my whole dissertation on the stock market, so this is something that I know. I said they did an experiment one time where they had a bunch of blindfolded monkeys picking stocks by throwing darts at the wall. And they didn't want the monkeys to even peek, so they blindfolded them. And so wherever the darts landed, that was the stock that they picked. So if it landed on IBM, they buy a share of IBM. If it was Nike, they buy Nike. So they compared the performance of the stocks picked by the blindfold monkeys to the smartest, most Harvard-educated experts on Wall Street. And you know what happened? The monkeys actually won more than half of the time. And so my point of the matter is this, look, if you go through any 30-year period in American history, this strategy always works, any 30-year period. If you bought a $100 to $200 a month worth of stock, randomly picking any stock, in 20, 30 years, your children would have hundreds of thousands of dollars in liquid cash to do whatever they want with. Now, is that millions of dollars? No, it's not. However, Imagine how differently your life would have gone if you started your life with $300,000 in the bank. You wouldn't be walking around talking about I'm broke, I'm poor, I can't do nothing. If you want to start a $10,000 business, you have the money. If you want to go to college without going in debt, you can do that. And so what I'm saying to you, and my daughter Reddy, in terms of financial literacy, I said right now, when your child comes into this earth, your first gift to that child should be a share of stock. And then every month, every Christmas, every birthday, everything, buy toys, buy Jordans, buy Beats, buy Dre, whatever you want to buy. But throw in some stock in there too, so that she is actually able to own a piece of this country. So at the end of the day, it's not a complex puzzle. I've been fighting with people like crazy about this, because there's some people who think that poverty is permanent, like it's an incurable disease. If you start there, you can't climb out. Most people can afford $100 a month. We waste $100 a month on stupid stuff. And so very clearly I can show you with mathematical equations, very simple equations, that if you do that over a 20, 30-year period, your children will not start off where you started off. And that's what we have to do. Stop thinking that it's all about us and how much we going to have in the next 5 or 10 years. This ain't about you. You are nothing but a speck in time. Wealth and empires are built across generations. So your $1 million question is, what am I going to do right now to make sure that my kids don't start at the bottom of the that, and this was after I had all my education and I had done everything I was supposed to do, so I thought that since I was an educated Negro, I was going to be all right. And then when they found out I was really black, I started being black in public. They started trying to push me out the door. So here I was with a PhD. I was about to be unemployed, and the problem with my field is it's a lot of industries. You get a bad reputation in one place, then you're gonna pretty much get blackballed, right? So I got blackballed for being too black, and so my only recourse was to learn how to start a business. And I say that every black man in this country must, as a fundamental part of your rites of passage, at some point learn how to start a business. Not because you expect to necessarily have to run a business, but that might be your lifeline to your masculinity. Yeah. Because that black woman is not going to respect you when her kids are hungry and you can't find a way to fix it. You can't come home and say, well, white folks ain't hiring right now. She ain't going to hear that. Okay? So the fundamental truth, the reality, man to man, is that the best investment I ever made in my life was when I sat down and intensely focused on becoming the best entrepreneur I can possibly be. If we take the same focus we put into basketball, that we put into football camps, that we put into entertainment, and put that into entrepreneurship, we would take over the world in a generation. So my advice to you as a black man is don't wait for somebody to create the environment for you or create the opportunity for the career for you. Learn how to create a job yourself. That's where your energy should go. That's what I would tell you to do. So go do that.
All right, I have a question over here for the young man.
Okay, can I add something before we go to that?
Yes, please.
Okay, I got a question and an answer. Here's a question. What's the best time to plant a tree? Best time to plant a tree is when? 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree, today. So I say that to say that one thing is that people start thinking about their careers as they get ready to graduate. The people that I mentor, we talk about your careers and setting yourself up with advocates and role models and mentors in the 5th grade. Because that's how other people do it. So you follow the best practices in the way that other folks create success, you do that for yourself. And much like with Michael Jordan, what people do on the ground, black people do up in the air when we get focused. So the first thing I would say is to all of you out there that have children, you start them out now talking about their careers. You start them out now going, if they want to be a banker, take them to a bank. Call somebody up and say, can I shadow you? Call somebody up and say, can my child come in and sit and watch while you do the things that you do? Get them involved in places where bankers go. If you want to get a fine young man like this, you figure out where you can meet him, right? Okay, so if you want to grow a career, start early. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing is, where are you going to be later on tonight? Every industry in the United States has an association. Every industry in the United States has a trade association. All the business people are on LinkedIn. People are in social media channels. There are trade associations. The best hookup I can tell you about is go to your public library, to your reference librarian, she gets paid to help you find information for free to you, right? And that's where you start. You go looking for where these people are that you need to get to, and then you show up in the places that these people are in, you build some relationships, and you own a network. And then you start your business. Because you know what? The truth is this. The very first investor in your business should be your current employer.
All right. Ms. Fleming, also one other thing to add to that. Someone wanted to know, early on you said that you started your business with $300 and 5 years later it was generating $1 million. What is your business?
National marketing research. I fly around and do business with Fortune 500, Fortune 50 corporations. I probably work with the top corporate companies in about 5 fields of where they're leaders. So currently now, I am working for an organization as their executive director. I have 70 people in 8 offices across the state. I still maintain our business because you know, it's a 3-gig economy out here, right?
All right, awesome. Okay, we have a question here from a young man, 16 years old. Excellent question. Please state your name and ask your question.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Ronald Jackson, son of Elizabeth Danielle. My direct question is, for all you understand, starting a business as a team. What are the opportunities that you all understand are available to give us to start our own businesses at this time and generation?
All right. What advice do you have for a 16-year-old starting a business? Dr. Lance, I know you can speak to this one.
You said Dr. Boyce?
Dr. Lance. Okay. Or you too as well, but he'd really like to know.
When I speak in high schools and in grade schools, I ask 3 questions. What age you have to be to open a bank account, what age you have to be to retire, and what age you have to be to start a business. 0. And we have to be able to teach our children, if you can play the game, you can make the game. There was a young man in St. Louis at Hazelwood West named Jalen Bledsoe. He steps to the microphone and says, I'm 17 years old. I'm the same age I am that my parents were when they had me. But I did $3 million last year and I have 120 employees. What you have is access to technology and access to the internet. Every day we are the most creative people on the planet. By being young, you can be able to assess all those likes on Facebook, convert those to customers, and be able to move your agenda forward. There are tons of teenage millionaires now because of technology. So you can do Google search and find those teenagers. There are organizations that are doing it. There's no age for you to start. There's so many African-American young kids that are now starting their business through the internet. So again, I would do a research on Jalen Bledsoe, but quite a bit of technology, youth entrepreneurship that are around.
This young man's serious too.
There's so much that I want to say. I try to be quiet because I speak too long because I want people to understand. First thing that I tell him is stop looking for someone else to help you. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to happen. I'm just being honest with you. My mom told me once that being a visionary was a blessing and a curse. You're blessed to see, God has blessed you to see things that other people can't see, but you're cursed to sit in them alone. So in me saying that, I want to give you an example of what I did. People don't know this. You want to know how David Banner started? I didn't get a deal. I was from Mississippi. Did nobody want to sign up? Nobody from Mississippi. Everybody had a damn country-ass joke about Mississippi, and I know that they didn't want to sign me. As a matter of fact, I had people after I became a millionaire to say, brother, we had your demo on our desk for 2 years, and because it had the return address of Mississippi, that we didn't open it. Let me tell you what I did. I stopped smoking weed and stopped drinking. Saved just the money that I spent on weed and drinking. I did start by drinking. But I took $100. Look at me, bro. Why you writing? Look up and down because you need to see my eyes. This really happened. I took $100, bought 100 CDs, stood on the corner with the dope dealers. I was so big, a lot of the white folks would buy my CD because I would get up close to them. You want my new CD? They would give me $10 so that big black motherfucker can move out the way. I'm serious. I just get close to them. I got a brand new CD. It's called You Might Get Your Jaw Broke. Here's $20, young man. But then, seriously, what happened was I bought 100 CDs with $100. Just 100. It wasn't 1,000. A lot of times we think too big. I bought 100 500 CDs, sold them at $10 a piece, made $1,000. Went and bought 1,000 CDs, sold them at $10 a piece, all of I-20, and made $10,000. Took $5,000. I never went and bought no alcohol, no weed. I didn't take nobody out. I took $5,000. Bought the van that y'all heard that I slept in. I went and got a generator from Walmart. Put the generator and made it a converter. Built a small studio in my other seat. And if you go back and listen to Mississippi the album with Like a Pimp, listen to the interludes. You can hear the air. I was literally doing drops for DJs and doing my interludes in my van while I was distributing my CDs. Took the other 5,000, took 5,000 CDs and then sold them and made $50,000. I used to be so broke that when I was going back and forth from Atlanta, I used to stop at gas stations and sell CDs until I could get enough gas to go to the next city. One of the things that you need to know is a lot of people tell children to have a backup plan. That sounds good, but your body will not let you fail if you give it everything in your life. The problem is what are you, because this is what I think from a spiritual perspective. Yeah. I don't think God is such a cruel God that he, she, or it would let you think something that you couldn't accomplish, but are you man or woman enough to sacrifice to make it happen? I gave everything. I always wanted children. As a matter of fact, I wanted 7 of them. I couldn't rap and be the boss that I needed to be if I had children. That just wasn't going to happen, so I had to sacrifice that. I practice a lot, but I don't have children for that reason. The other thing that I want to say is this, and I hope everyone listens to this. I went to my entrepreneurship class at LSU. I didn't go to Southern. I went to white folks to see what they was talking about. They had a billionaire or a multi-millionaire come to our class every week. That wasn't happening at Southern. One thing that they told me, and it was basically the same thing, and I don't even think they knew each other. They said if you want to learn how, because they said that business management is bullshit. They said if you really want to learn how to start a business or run a business, open one up and fail. Lose $1,000 that you don't have to lose. I bet you won't make that damn mistake again. Lose $10,000 or make the wrong call or miss the wrong opportunity or wake up too late and open your stove and stuff don't work out. I bet your ass will wake up tomorrow. The other thing that I'm going to say, this may sound very, very small, but I never could understand. I had a country-ass father. It's like I had the best of both worlds. My dad was from Brookhaven, Mississippi. My mom was from Chicago. So I had a gun at 10 and could drive, but he didn't want you to spend the night. Well, that's my personal shit. Let me tell you. Wake up before the rest of the world does. Yeah. I get up at 5 in the morning, just about every morning, and I'm a rapper, and I'm the boss. I don't have to. The other thing is, we hustle backwards on the wrong stuff. Watch tonight what I'm gonna do. As soon as y'all leave, I'm gonna be selling God Box t-shirts, God Box hoodies. Ladies like my chest, I got a little button you can get for $5 with my chest out. Whatever you need, I'm selling it. And I'm gonna be over there swiping credit cards and people say, David Banner, you don't have to sell buttons. Oh yes I do. You wanna know why? I've already calculated. I sell one, it's 500 people in here. If I sell a t-shirt to every one of y'all at $35 a piece, that's $17,500. Who the fuck don't need that? I'm hustling. I will sell you everything but my soul and my spirituality and my manhood. The rest of it, I got it for you. You like the rental car that I have? I'm gonna overprice it to you. You can have that motherfucker. I'll talk to Alamo later. Business is not as hard as they make it. They make you afraid of it so you don't want to do it. It's not that hard. Just start it and fail. Real quick.
Okay, that's for David Banner and Boyce Watkins. I'm over here trying to reach out to my nieces and nephews out here, and for the kids that like instant gratification and stuff like that, which better way is it to reach out to them
Is it to build your own stuff and then show them the better way and the struggles and all that, or should we show them as we build our own?
What I would say is that I try to start everything that I do from that foundation of love. There's no creature on this earth that doesn't respond favorably to love. You know, if you want to correct, then you first have to connect, right? So if I sit down and I talk to you and I know you're hungry, I mean, I can preach to you all day, but you're gonna be thinking about food. You understand? So first thing I got to do is realize, number one, even though I might be the teacher, I need to first be a student. And I need to listen to you and understand you before I can help you, right, or support you, whatever the case may be. The second thing is, once I've listened to you and understand your worldview, I can get there with you and connect to your priorities as they stand, the things that matter to you right now. And then at that point, when you identify that I care about you, you know, you're just gonna naturally gravitate to that. You know, so I think love is just a strong way to start any situation, any conversation. In fact, I believe that a lot of reasons black people can't do business with each other is for the same reason we can't really stay married as much as we want, because we have a hard time loving each other, right? So with that being said, what I do is I don't push anything on anybody. I believe that the truth being on my side gives me an inherent advantage. I believe that I can make sense of every idea I lay out there, because I'm not going to lie to you, because I don't want to keep up with a bunch of lies, I want to keep up with a bunch of illusions. I will just tell you what I'm seeing and kind of give you some logic and give you some truth and some facts to go with it. And then what you'll find is that no matter how old a younger person is or how educated or not educated, they're going to connect, they're going to understand it, right? They're going to somehow connect to what you're saying. And it doesn't get to this whole thing, well, you're a professor, you don't understand my life in the street and all this. We don't go through all of that. You understand? And a lot of that just starts with connecting from a basic level. Then at that point, whatever it is that you need in terms of information, I'll share that with you. I'm not going to push it on you. I will also show you. So maybe for some situations, if somebody thinks in terms of paychecks, then yeah, I will offer them a job. You know, my kids and godkids don't know it, but I kind of control a big part of every part of their life just by basically seeing what they need and where they're at. And then I position things in a certain way so that you're going this way, but you don't even know that you're going that way, because I didn't tell you to go that way, but I know you and I know what you need and I know what you're thinking. So long story short, I think with young people, I think you have to start off by showing that you care. I think you have to be very consistent. You have to be able to sort of fight through the immaturity. I mean, a child's brain is not developed until I think they were 24, 25 years old. So you're dealing with a lot of craziness that way as well. And then over time, they tend to gravitate. I'm learning, you know, as I watch my kids, like all my kids, when I say God kids, are really my kids. I take responsibility for those children. And, you know, what I'm learning is that I'm watching them, I'm like, oh my God, they're becoming a bunch of little Boyce Watkinses. And it's not because I wanted them to do that, it's just because they see what works and what doesn't work. And people naturally want it. If they're struggling with something, you give them a better option. You don't really have to sell it. It'll sell itself. So that's what I would do. You know, but remember also, you really can't save everybody. And so some people, you just do your best, and then sometimes you gotta just kind of keep moving.
Thank you.
I have a public announcement real quick.
So, one more thing to the brother who asked about his nieces and nephews. I want to give you a quick statistic. 50% of people figure out or learn their financial habits from their parents. So if grandmama and mama kept their money in their mattress, you're going to learn that bad habit as well. So I would just say something simple: open a savings account for them and let it let it grow. Because I did the same thing for my son. He can watch his 529 grow, and it's, you know, just simple lessons like that. But I also have to go because I have a son, and I have to get home to him. So I'm not being rude, but thank you very much. This was great, and I hope we continue this conversation.
You want my opinion, I'll give it really quick. It's really simple. All you have to do is be available to children. Say what you have to say, keep it moving. But children are smart. They want to see success. We all want to change the world. Stop trying to change the world and change yourself. My mentor told me one time, he said, David Manor, you do too much. I said, what do you mean, sir? He said, you try too hard. You're trying to say that's not your... And actually, the preacher here told me, you try to be Jesus, you then wonder why you end up being on that cross. Do what you can do and go home. But what he told me is, he said, how many people do you touch on social media, daily? I said about 3 million, if you put them all together. He said, well, did I change your life? I said, yes, sir, you changed my life. I wouldn't be who I am. His name is David Moody. He owns Moody Construction in Atlanta. He said, didn't I change your life? He said, yeah. He said, through the things I did to you, don't you touch other people? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, I changed 3 million people by just changing your life. And I changed 3 million and one by changing my life first. You become successful. How the hell you can teach them to run a business and you don't have one? And you're not successful. Just be successful. They're watching you. They watch everything we do.
Absolutely. Okay, good question.
I wanted to direct this to Dr. McCarthy and also to Mr. Seward. One of the things that I try to ask people when I meet them is, do you know what the Dow Jones Industrial Average is? Because typically we talk about black entrepreneurship, but the average black person will look at the news, see that every day that there's an economic indicator that comes on, and never question themselves in terms of what is the Dow Jones. 30 years ago, 7 black men that I knew in corporate America approached me because they wanted to start an investment club. It changed my life. They were sharp brothers. They only let one sister in. I was grateful because I learned all about the stock market. I learned about what was being discussed on the golf course. And what I'm saying, when we start talking about starting these, our own companies, I have started about 12 or 15 investment clubs. My family, the Corley Rufus Investment Club, because of my grandmother. When I worked at AT&T, mutual money makers, that's all we had in common is we wanted to make some money. And when you have a book club, if you get together on once a month or once a week to watch Scandal, why not start putting the circle around you, put that $25 a month or a week away, look at you don't have to pay anybody, look at the internet and look at National Association of Investment Clubs and start an investment club. And if people are just wanting to watch Scandal, get away from them. Get with some people who want to make money because you're wasting your time. But I do want to ask Dr. McCarthy and Mr. Seward about how do you begin to make us understand it. We just can't come out and say, I want to start a business. We got to understand that it does take getting up before 5:30 in the morning. You can't sleep all day and then at noon get up and say, yeah, I'm going to start a business. How do we begin to put this mindset or catalyst to cultivate our people so that they can begin to do more than just talk and be emotional, that we actually start understanding my $25 can get something started?
Great comment, sister. Yes, we really don't understand the stock market, or we play in the stock market. The majority of the money is in institutional financing. A lot of us come out of middle class and labor. We talk about pension funds. People think that pension funds are out there for 30 years. They're invested every single day. So if you are a part of any pension fund, teachers, students, or whatever there is, firemen, policemen, there is a 3 to 5% alternative investment in those pension funds. You need to know how to go to your meetings and look at how you can leverage some of those funds back into business. That's an opportunity for economic development for black businesses. Again, we don't know. Starting investment clubs is definitely great, but we need to understand how we begin to look at the whole stock market. Again, we don't know. 11,000 companies, only 17 are African American on the New York Stock Exchange. But again, that's a language. I started my whole speech earlier that business is a language. We need to learn the language, because if you don't, you are a foreigner in your own country. It was said earlier that $1.5 trillion is spent. We can work together as consumers with understanding the stock market. So again, institutional financing, looking at that, sharing with individuals here can help us begin to move forward. I don't know if you all remember back in the day when TWA was here, Carl Icahn actually rated the pension fund so much that it passed legislation that he couldn't be able to do that. So yes, we need to understand the whole understanding of stock. Every day, $1.5 trillion is traded, and we're not even in the game.
To build on that, and even with what Dr. Boyce said, I mean, choose some stocks. Education is key. The more you continue to educate yourself, you know, how high is high, right? Like, if you get the skills, I have a bar license, I have passed the Series 7, I passed the Series 66, I had a real estate license at one point. Educate yourself, okay? Educate yourself on what it is you're trying to do. I mean, Google it, right? It's out there. It's free. Use it, look it up if you're curious, find some things. But when you talk about some of the things that you can do to get prepared or start to open a business. Missouri Secretary of State's website gives you the lowdown on starting an LLC, starting a nonprofit. And we just talked about we don't need any more nonprofits out there. The NFL is a nonprofit. Okay, so just because it's a nonprofit doesn't mean you can't be profitable. All right. So don't let that term kind of throw you there. But some of the things that Brother David Banner said, it's the discipline of self. Getting up. I get up 5:30 in the morning. Okay? Get up before other folks do. The early bird gets the worm. It's the saying for a reason. All right? Educate yourself. Be about the discipline of self. There's a quick story that I talk about in terms of when I talk to and I consult with advisors on how to manage their week, manage their day. It's the rocks in the pickle jar story. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, okay? But briefly, big pickle jar. Next to that, start over. Professor comes into his classroom one day. On his table, he has a big jar, mason jar. Next to that has a big bag of rocks, 2-3 inches in diameter. Next to that has a bag of pebbles are smaller than rocks. Next to that he has a bag of sand. All right. First thing he does, without saying anything to the class, goes immediately to the jar, picks up the bag of rocks, and starts filling the bag of rocks. All right. Filling the jar with the bag of rocks. After he puts as many rocks in there as possible, turns to the class, says, "Class, is the jar full?" Someone raise their hand. Once he gets the maximum number he thinks he's going to get, he immediately turns, picks up the bag of pebbles, starts dumping the pebbles into the jar. Well, as we know, pebbles are smaller than the rocks, so the pebbles fit in between the rocks and the spaces in the jar. Turns to the class again, says, "Class, now, is the jar full?" More folks raise their hands. He then picks up the bag of sand. As you know, the sand is smaller than the pebbles and the rocks. The sand starts filling in between the pebbles and the rocks in the jar. Class starts laughing, they get it. The jar represents your time. Sell it first, okay? Then build the other things. If it's putting the family on hold, put the family on hold, all right? That might have been a pebble or a piece of sand for Ben, right? Figure out what your priorities are and go after those things that are top priority for you. The other thing that I wanted to kind of address with the comment you made earlier is that, you know, when we talked about, did you want to, you know, how would you bring the kids that are in your life along? Do you create a successful business first, or do you bring them along in the process? This stuff is a marathon. Brother David Banner can attest to that. He didn't become a success overnight. He told you about his story, okay? So I think there's a benefit in showing your children what it is to be successful, what it is to fail, what it is to stay up late nights, building your business. When they see that, they see it. They understand what it takes. The thing that we talked about, you talked about the kids, the millennials today. You know, they want instant gratification. You have to show them. Nothing's instant. Okay? If you show them that, they get that appreciation, they get that understanding, and have a greater appreciation for what you do.
Let me go to the last little piece to what he said earlier. You know, David and I were kind of talking about this, and it's a good point. Just like earlier, remember when David was saying that running a business is not as complicated as people make it out to be. Like, it can be very complicated if you want it to be, but it's really just kind of buy low, sell high. You know, sell it for more than what you bought it for, and you can get rich. I knew a little girl who was 11, and she started a business. She literally took all the Oreo cookies out of the jar at home and was selling them for $1 a piece and put them in little plastic bags and was making $40 a bag and was trying to re-up with mama, you know, to go get her to buy some more Oreos. You know, and that's basically how every major corporation on earth makes billions of dollars.
Our economic buying power and our buying habits we have let other cultures come into our neighborhoods, open restaurants, gas stations, beauty supply shops, and other stores. If you go down Kings Highway, you will see that they opened 4 gas stations within a 2-mile radius, when 90% of the customer base don't even have cars. But if you go into the gas station, what you will see is a one-stop shop. You have your hair weed, you have your chicken, you have beer. You can pay a cell phone bill. You got your liquor and all that, because we let these other cultures, Arabs, Koreans, come into our neighborhoods, and what they've done, they learned our spending habits, our buying habits. They know what we need by doing. So when we go to the store and buy the Rello wraps, hey, we can buy some CDs, we can buy some movies, and we can buy some chicken. They selling us food that they don't even eat themselves. You know what I'm saying? So my question is, how can we take back that our economic buying power and apply that to our communities and to our own people, into opening up our own businesses within our communities that reflect our money? Because they open up these gas stations and don't take not $1 and go build a playground. Nothing. I live in New City. They just opened up Arab just opened up a beauty supply shop at the corner of North and South and Howard. I rolled past there, the owner pulled up in a Lamborghini, right? Old girl that went and bought weed got off the bus and went and bought 4 bundles of hair. If that's not a reflection of our economic disparity, I don't know what is. How can we overcome that?
I have an idea. I spoke about it before. It's how we look at ourselves. You know, just being honest with you. We see no value in ourselves. We see value in everybody else. But let me tell you something that one of my aunts did, and I thought this shit was dope. She is a millionaire. She used to be the cook at one of these boutique white restaurants. She worked in the kitchen. The white dude liked her so much, he gave her an opportunity to buy the business over time. But guess what she did? She never came out the kitchen. She stayed in the kitchen, she stayed cooking until she was a millionaire. And before the white folks knew that she owned it, it didn't matter. She was already a millionaire. I say until we get our folks conscious, start business, hire some Arabs to run it. Until black folks get conscious. See, the thing is, and I want to be honest with you, people get mad when I say this, but I'm just being real with you. I am a revolutionary, but I don't run a black business. I run a successful business. And then I give my proceeds to black people, or part of my proceeds. Hold on, let me finish so people can be clear. I want to hire black people first, but if they're not qualified, I'm going to get the person who is able to run my business so it can work first. Yes, sir. Because if we hire a whole bunch of unqualified people and the business don't work, it don't matter anyway. You have to do what you have to do until people raise their consciousness. Yeah. So if that means you have to go get some Arabs to stay up front because they only want to buy from the Arab, shit, that's cool. And as you see, because I'll even give you an example. I know about redlining, I know the things that they've done to our community, but in some cases, I don't agree with the word gentrification. We've had our land and we've had our communities for all these years and did nothing until you are in a financial position to change it. And then when you're able to change it, your people will change along with you. So like I say, we know there's a problem, and if black folks feel like Koreans sell better hair, all right, shit, put some Koreans in that motherfucker, yeah. And then once you get them in there, and you get the money in there, just like my auntie did, she slowly started working herself out of that back of that kitchen. And by the time people found out that she was black and she owned that business, you couldn't say that it was cheap because you've been buying from it for 3 years. You couldn't say that it was low quality because you know what we've been doing for 3 years. You have to sometimes be quiet, look at the parameters, adjust, and go get it.
All right.
I just want to say real quick to add to that. So also, we also have to be conscious and we have to intentionally buy black. I live in a neighborhood where there are, you have have different people owning the gas stations and that sell chicken. But there's also a black business that sells chicken that's a little further away. So I drive the extra mile so that I can patronize that black business. And you have to do that. We have to be conscious. And somebody talked about that we don't want to patronize our black contractors. I have been burned so many times by black contractors, but that does not mean I will stop using them. When I need a plumber, or I need my grass cutter, whatever I need, I'm looking for a black contractor. I'm not going to let that negative experience cause me to stop letting another black man, earn a dollar. So we have to be conscious and choose to support black businesses. I own a black business in downtown St. Louis. I'm surrounded by non-African Americans. And so I had to put a non-African American at the front desk, because when the people were coming in the door, that's what they were looking for. They wanted to see people that looked like them. But I offer top quality service, unmatched service, and so but when they found out, oh, this is a black-owned business, the sisters supported me, and I appreciate that. But I also want to say, when I wrote my business plan and when it met with SBA, I was told, don't put your business, go out to Chesterfield or go out to Maryland Heights. And I said, why? Well, I own a fitness center. Black people don't work out. I said, that's okay. That's not why I'm doing this. I know where I want to open up my business. I want to open up my business in a place where we can access it, and we're going to change the mindset because we know we need to work out to be healthy. So if I had followed that advice, I wouldn't have opened up my business. And I'm saying, be true to yourself and be true to your mission and what you're trying to do, and you can be successful.
Outstanding, outstanding. Can we get a round of applause? Oh, sorry.
I want to ask something real quick. I think a lot of times there is no black competition. Like I used to teach down in Gateway down in the city, and every morning I had to buy my cup of coffee from the mobile gas station, which was not black owned on the corner because there was no black gas stations closed. So or even on Kings Highway. I've been in those little shops. But one thing about it, even though they do sell chicken, they take food stamps. So once you get people in there buying hot food with food stamps, yeah, they have the hair, they have the cell phone, they have the CDs, they have clothes, they have, it's a one-stop shop. And it's not too many black businesses here in St. Louis that takes food stamps or can get the customer inside the door, because what we do know is 65% of all sales is made at the time of purchase. So once they get the people in there, then all of a sudden they got you hooked. But again, I wanted to buy black every morning, but there was no black gas station. So before we start complaining about the Koreans owning a gas station in our community and getting our money, we first had to pool our money together and open up our own.
What I'll say is, I remember talking to a guy who was from another country. He might have been Korean. And I remember he was telling me about his father and grandfather and the businesses they started in the United States. And I said, well, at what point, was there any point in your family anywhere where you ever heard anybody talk about just get a job? He said, no, we never talked about that. And that wasn't even part of their culture. That wasn't even part of their language. Whereas a lot of y'all come from families where when you tell them you got a new job, they popping bottles and all excited. When you tell them you're about to start a business, they look at you like they feel sorry for you. I don't know, anybody got a family like that? And so I think that addressing the culture is very, very important. When you talk about circulating money, the best way to understand the power of circulating money and how literally circulating black dollars would triple black wealth overnight is think of it like a room. Imagine if you're in a hot room with no windows and the air's coming in. And let's say that somebody opens up the front window of the room and all the air that comes in is going out. All the air that comes in is going out. It's 100 degrees outside. Well, it's going to take a lot of energy to come in through the vent for you to have to keep the room cold. So if you want to save energy, what do? You shut the window, right? So what that means is basically for black folks, white people control the vent. They kind of control your ability to have access to the money that you need, and you're addicted to it. And you're not shutting the window. You're letting the air go right back out, and then you got to go back and get more. You got to keep begging the same people to get to replenish everything that you're throwing away. And so what I would say to you is this: look, when you first start with that conversation with children about money, ask a 5-year-old, what is money for? A lot of them will say, money is for me to buy things with. And that's the wrong answer. That's half the answer, but it's not the complete answer. That when you say that money is something that you use to buy things, what you're doing is you're being trained to be a consumer. A consumer is like a commodity, almost like imagine a KFC chicken who's invited over for dinner and really thinks he's there to eat. You know, that's kind of what black folks have become. We've become the ultimate consumers. We've been trained to consume, consume, consume. Money is not just for consumption. Money is actually capital. Capital is like a seed. Capital is supposed to grow. So you're addicted to the products they're producing for you. And think about it like this on a very basic level. There's no relationship between an addict and a pusher in which the addict has more power. No relationship. So ultimately for us, we must understand how this game is played. Understand this, when you talk about money and economics globally, economics is built on gang warfare. Gang warfare. People form coalitions, animals form herds because they know that there's strength in numbers. A corporation ain't nothing but an economic gang. It's where a bunch of people gather their money to accumulate a lot of power. The Asian Pacific Unions, that's an economic gang. The police are a gang. You got gangs everywhere. So black folks, you gotta ask yourself, where is your economic gang?
If we're talking about black wealth, we need to know our black business history. 95% of African Americans don't realize we have an encyclopedia on black business history by Dr. Julia Walker. Goes back to the 1600s when we were buying ourselves out of slavery. The first African American millionaire, 1852, Jeremiah Hamilton on Wall Street, $2 million, $250 million in today's term. The brother had so much swag that he sent you caviar and champagne. So we have a history of black business. We need to understand that and also understand trends. If we do both of those, I believe that we can change the black wealth in this country.
Outstanding, outstanding. Can we give our panelists another round of applause, please? Yes. Yes.
Many of us walked into this building with dreams and desires, and a lot of us, we spend a lot of time in the space of dreaming. After this intense conversation, I'm sure many of us now understand we not only need to dream, but we also need to do. So it's time that we ditch the dream and start doing. Right?
All right.
So turn to the person next to you, ditch the dream.
Ditch the dream.
Let's start doing.
Start doing.
So again, thank you panelists, each and every one of you, for all of this knowledge that you have provided. We are going to bring up Kevin Bryant to come give us the last closing out words. We want to also make sure that you visit. We have product for sale. A couple of our Banner has products, also Dr. Boyce. He has products, and we want to make sure that you visit them. And there's also a VIP that I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that immediately following.
Yes, did that feel good to everybody in there? So two quick announcements. We have Minister Agbar Muhammad and Walter McKinney I want to bring up very, very briefly because they're people who pay for VIP. And that's going to be next door at HG where there's food and everything that you paid for right next door, your private meet and greet. Although Mr. Banner has made it clear he wants to make sure that you all purchase the products that he's brought. So real quick, there is no B plan. Like one of the cop-outs we always say is, well, what is the B plan? My plan is not Banner's plan. I never wanted to sit up 3 o'clock in the morning making beats. I'm glad he did, and it led him to what? My plan was marketing, but the original plan was Garveyism. There's been lots of plans, right? The area he talked about over on Kings Highway, I decided to make that my development plan. That area over there, there's 207 acres of the oldest private black neighborhoods in St. Louis. I own... Oh yes, sir. One more thing before I forget, I always want to do this. Can we give it up for the FOI for keeping us safe? So with that, I want to bring up Minister Agbar and Walter McKinney. This is one of my oldest financial advisors. This is a bad brother. Yeah. He's got a plan.
Well, first I would like to thank Mr. Bryant because I think everybody agreed absolutely awesome. I'd like to thank the panel for your time and all your expertise. Dr. Watson, Doc, appreciate you coming. Two quick things I'll say. The first thing, the early question was, what is wealth? And this brother eloquently talked about what business is and how business leads to that. But he didn't really say what it is. So in our office, we know what it is. Because 46 years ago, I was picking cotton for 9 cents a pound. Now I am the president and CEO of McKinney Group Wealth, one of the largest black firms in this city and in this state. So that's one. So what wealth is? It is the consistent accumulation of appreciating assets that are transferable to the next generation. It is not Range Rovers and rings and watches and hats. It's none of that. There's 4 fundamental reasons why black people are poor. You ready? Hope you write it down. Fear, Doc said it. Use of capital, lack of planning, and lack of discipline. In our offices, we have those keys. Mr. Bryant, as always, I love you like a brother. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be with you, and we'll love to do it. McKinney Group of Wealth, that's one of our great advisors sitting right there. And then there's the office operations manager right over there. We are the team. We're here. Been here 16 years now. So when you're looking around, look at McKinney Group Wealth. We're on Facebook. We look forward to it. And I just awesome job, young man.
But keep him next door and get his card. Don't let him get out of here. Mr. Akbar, if you will.
Thank you, Bismillah. I'm going to be very brief. But first, I want to thank Dave Banneker and Boyce, Watkins. I enjoyed them. And I know as you listened to them, you thought about people who should hear this. And I would hope that, Kevin, you did a marvelous job. You didn't have a music set, but you packed the house. And the people who were here were interested in making a change in their life on the business end. I come from the Nation of Islam, 56 years of my life. And my first 3 years, Malcolm inspired me to sell books. I've been in business because I had a large family, 10 children. I could not make it if I didn't have a business on the side. So I know the ins and outs. But I want to say that these two brothers, and David, you really inspired me tonight. Even though I heard you before and looked and peeped at you, but tonight you inspired me to say that, Kevin, you need to take this on the road. As cities around this country, that young people, business people, need to hear what was said. Now I want to close out on this. I was blessed to know Muhammad Ali, and in 1976 we were in New Orleans. And I'm saying this to business people because business is not about showing off. You know, a man asks you if you got money, you can say yes, I got some. But you don't say how much I got 5,000 in this pocket, 10 in this pocket, and take it out and start counting. That's immature. Muhammad Ali was in that elevator, and it was 15 of us going upstairs for this big dinner. And we all got up there and we sat down at the dinner and we were with Ali. And Ali opened it up. Now Ali, remember, only finished high school, but making money taught him a lesson. The lesson of life, how to manage that money, to be able to hold on to it. Some people criticize his wife by selling his intellectual property for $50 million. I'm not going to criticize her for doing it, because once Ali was gone, something had to happen with his intellectual property, and she sold it. So at that dinner table, Ali said, everybody sat down, we were all happy, and Ali said, can somebody tell me what Jesus' famous quote at the Last Supper was? And everybody looked at each other, looked at him, nobody could answer. And Ali said, I'll tell you what it was. Separate checks, please. Ali was managing his money. Thank you, God bless you.